full and tries to clip it down the leg side, doesn't make contact through to the keeper. So I've got to report back, as we do on Triple M, to the group.
Yep.
Last night, went out for dinner, came back. Lisa, my wife, was with me. We went to the bar at our hotel, and I saw the same two gentlemen at the bar that I saw when we left for dinner. Came back 3.5 hours later, and they were still there.
Yeah.
Botham and M. Hughes.
There's a shot.
I was about to name those two.
Yep.
Hamza bowling. Kawaja defending offside, no run. So they said, would you like something? I said, yeah, I'll have a glass of wine. That'd be great. Lisa had the same. And then it came to settle the bill.
Ooh.
And I was interested at that point to see, because they'd obviously settled in for a while. So how are we going to do this? M. Hughes, give it to me. I'm paying.
Ah.
I said to Beefy, you have just seen Jesus walk on the water. This is the first Victorian cricketer in history to buy anyone else a drink.
Yeah, it's a fair call.
Hamza bowling to Kawaja, and he lets that go through.
I thought after you'd had the one glass of wine, they just like, oh, well, thirds?
No, to his eternal credit, the big boy said, give it to me, pick the tab up. And I said, Beefy, you have got no... I know you played for Queensland for a year, but you haven't had the exposure to Victorian cricketers that we've all had. They are notoriously the tightest people on the planet.
Well, he's had 40 years to save up, hasn't he, for that first shout, Merv?
Did you get a glimpse of the total?
I don't know what the damage was, but I appreciated it, and I was privileged to witness it. Warner defending on the offside, no run.
Coming back to those two gentlemen you spoke about, and it was no great surprise, it was Botham and Merv Hughes, at the bar. I picked them up this morning. I had a guy pick me up this morning from home, and we came by the hotel and picked them up on the way through.
Yep.
They told me they'd had a couple of sherbets in the bar, and I said, well, what happened to dinner? How'd that go? They said, no dinner.
Peanuts.
No dinner. Yeah, that's it. I said the
peanuts.
Can you imagine those two? I wonder how many bags of peanuts they went through for dinner for those two.
Hassan Ali round the wicket to Warner. No. Into the offside defending, no run.
Well, Merv was notorious for like going back to his room and then just tucking into a bit of room service. So maybe.
Well, when I did hear this, Bluey, because I asked the same question, I said, you two haven't moved since Lisa and I went out for dinner. You're still in the same spot. We just come back. What have you had to eat? Some peanuts. I said, with all of the Jewish respect to both of you, missing a meal wouldn't harm. I think you got enough in reserve to push through.
They weren't going to pass away overnight.
I don't reckon. No. Warner, I reckon there was a little inside edge. Half a shout. No real interest in it. None for 6. Good boys. It was nice to see them both enjoying each other's company.
I made the mistake many years ago of rooming with Merv.
Oh, no.
In South Africa, which was straight after his last Test match.
By choice?
No. Well, it wasn't my mistake. It was the tour hierarchy's mistake. I was vice captain and therefore a selector on tour.
Oh, yes.
And we left Merv out of the Durban Test match, which would have been his last Test, but obviously the one before turned out to be his.
Right.
Well, he got back the night before the Test match, and about 2 o'clock.
Yep.
Because he wasn't playing.
Yep.
And ordered 2 hamburgers and a couple of thick shakes.
Ali, a wide one. Warner lets it go through, no run.
Kept me awake for many hours. The next day, we lose the toss. South Africa put us in. M.A. Taylor, LBW, Farney de Villiers for 1. First morning Test match. I said to him, I came off, wasn't very happy that he kept me up last night. He said, I can't help it if you can't bat. No apology was forthcoming.
I can imagine him saying that too.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. No, impossible to get it.
Just Merv Hughes, South Africa. Now, I've heard a story. I wasn't there, but he was playing a tour game leading into one of the Test matches, coming off a back injury.
Yes.
And he's bowling in his first over. He's bowled the ball, and then in his follow through, he's pulled up and he's hunched over.
Yep.
And everyone's sort of
Orange Free State.
He's done his back into here. And Alan Border, I think, was playing that game.
No, AB made me captain because AB didn't play that game.
Captain.
Yeah, but told me to bowl him after lunch.
Raja off the pads, gets his first runs. Back with a square. And just one.
So you ran up to Merv.
Yeah,
Is that right?
We all gathered around him because that first ball after lunch and he'd had the huge plate of food. And AB had said to me, Tub, make sure you bowl him after lunch, see if he's right for the first test.
Yeah.
So when he bowled this first ball, he followed through a lot longer than he normally does and down the pitch. So we all started huddling around him. But you can go on and tell the rest of the story. No, well, I will tell it because
you say
we
it.
all got around him, including Hansi Cronje, who was playing for Orange Free State. Everyone was a bit concerned about him. Well, he stood up and passed wind as only Merv could and said, that's better.
Better.
Merv at the top of his mark.
Come on,
No, the back was fine.
No problem. Oh, my goodness. Warner now facing. Wide ball, no run. Yeah. It was at the same tour that he belted the Perspex with the bat after some abuse as he was.
Yes,
I reckon it would have.
Yes, that was the first. That was the first test at the Wanderers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was an eventful time for Merv.
Oh yeah, it was. So we had that, and then we got beaten at the Wanderers, then we won at Cape Town, and then so we went to Durban, and that's where we left him out because he was a bit. The back wasn't great, so we left him out, and that was turned out to be AB's last test.
3 slips in a gully, bright sunshine at the moment, and that's tailing away. So we're going to finish on Merv.
I've got one more too. I've got one more.
So
while we're at the SCG,
we're playing out a draw at the MCG. And Bluey knows especially how Merv and I got on a cricket field.
Yeah.
So I'd batted for about an hour against him, and he had thrown the kitchen sink at me verbally. All things that could never be said, even on Triple M, which is the most liberal of broadcasting stations. Mentioning the fact that I only had 2 stumps to aim at because they had the other one shoved up, all this sort of, like it was just relentless as Khawaja lets that through. I knew it was the last over of the day, and I was facing, and Merv came running in, and I knew that I'd be facing the last ball, and I knew that ball would be a bouncer. So in he comes, and predictably it was a bouncer. I duck underneath. The game's finished as a draw. I look up, and Merv's about a metre away from me through his run-up. And he looked at me, used to get that cross-eyed sort of look, and he goes, I hate you. That's all he had left.
That's one of the 4 little words you can actually use. That he uses.
Yeah. So we walk off as Hams is in again, and Khawaja lets that go. As absolute luck would have it, our first game of the next year was Victoria at the MCG. So I'm batting 3, and whoever we had opening got out. So I walk out, and the first ball I face for the season is Merv, and it's proper deja vu. So I'm middle of the leg, I look up, he's in exactly the same spot as I left him last year. He comes charging in, I knew what was going to be, of course, so it's a bouncer. I go underneath and I look up, he's the same distance away, he looks at me with that same stupid head and goes, I still hate you. 6 months, he hadn't forgotten it. But I love that man. You cannot not love him. Khawaja struck high on the pad, half an appeal, none for 12.
He's exactly right. He's one of those lovable fellas. You say, give it to you on the field, but always good for a laugh, Merv.
No, great.
Play the game very seriously.
Yep. And hard.
Played it hard, but afterwards always good fun. I do remember him batting here at playing for Victoria against New South Wales, and he's facing Greg Matthews. He was batting with Simon O'Donnell, who was the captain of Victoria at the time, and Greg, as he often did in those days, was spinning it square, and Simon was going all right and said to Merv, just nestle down and try and bat with me here if you can.
Hamza to Khawaja, defending offside, no run.
So about 3rd or 4th ball, Merv must have blocked it 1 or 2, and then about 3rd ball, Greg threw it up wide of off stump. Merv, as he always did, put the foot down the middle of the pitch, played the big cow corner slog, and hold out to a man on the fence. We had one guy deep at sort of cow corner towards the old hill, did not have to move a step, straight down his throat for a duck. So you could see that big Scoob O'Donnell, he was ropeable. Apparently, and the story goes that when he got off the ground, he goes up to Merv and says, what were you thinking? And he said, well, you never got a good one early.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Have you heard the story about when we were playing the same game, MCG, Merv Hughes, so South Australia, Victoria, another Merv story. And I made 268, right? So, and I'd been, before I got to 50, Damien Fleming hit me in the head, and I was wearing a helmet with no face, no visor, just the little ear.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's hit me in the left ear, and like perforated my eardrum. I reckon I was probably concussed.
Elijah off his pads for a single down, a long leg, none for 8.
Anyway, got going again, got to 50, and I'm like, right, bat up to the crowd that was not many there, but mainly to the teammates. Merv walks past and goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, just got 50." He goes, I've now played about 200 first-class games, and that's the worst 50 I've ever seen in my life. And the same thing, got to 100. That is the worst 100 I've ever seen. And then it kept going. 150, 200.
Around the wicket to Warner, and no contact down the leg side.
And I was the last out, 268, and there he is at the gate. That is the worst 268 I've ever seen.
He's consistently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just kept going with it.
He wouldn't last too many games, modern era, Merv. He'd be suspended.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Permanently suspended.
No, he was always offering advice, wasn't he, Merv, on how to play and
How to behave.
how to go about it, yeah.
That's it. Your life choices. Hassan Ali around the wicket, bowling. Warner carefully watching it through. No run.